to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Dream 100 Show. I wanted to talk to you today about a project that I'm working on. And I wanted to talk you through the project so that you could start to hopefully spur some ideas around executing a similar project and being able to kind of build your audience at the same time, build a variety of content, and also build your authority within your Dream 100. So I am completely rewriting the Dream 100 book that has been out in the marketplace from the ground up. And I'm doing that for a lot of different reasons. The first reason is I want a book that I have completely authored myself. Number two, I want a book that is more with my frameworks and my teachings and stuff that I know is working in the marketplace as of this second. And what I'm doing with this project is taking like 10 steps back. And what I've realized in doing this, I like to go right into the tactics. So when you're looking at engaging with your Dream 100, when you're looking at getting on sales presentations and trying to close people, do you tend to lead with the tactics, the how-tos, the benefits? And what I realized when I sat down and I'm like, okay, step one is I'm going to go through the table of contents. I'm going to try and just slap things together. And what I did was I used a program called Workflowy, which basically just allows you to rapidly add bullets and expand on topics. It's just a really easy to use interface. And I sat down for an hour and I said, I want to get everything out of my head that I think should be in the book. So introduction, and I put a couple of different stories. And then I started listing out, okay, great, fortune map or stage number one, you're going to audit your marketing and you're going to go into fixing your social and all the stuff that I've taught you within this podcast of step by step by step by step. And what I realized was that I didn't take several steps back. And in doing that, I realized that I haven't fully vetted out all the problems that the industry is facing. So I can teach you all of the tactics. I can give you everything on a silver platter. But if I'm not lining those up with some of the problems that you're experiencing, the content is going to stay at a surface level. If I don't start to teach you the mindset shifts that you're going to need, the content is going to stay at a surface level. So let me give you an example. One of the reasons that you're listening to this podcast and that you're looking at and or you are deploying the Dream 100 framework is because your business is either stalled out, not growing, or nowhere near the levels that you would like. And the crazy thing is, as I started to talk these things through and I started to look at the problems, and that being one of which, I started to see myself in a lot of these. And when you can start to see yourself and then start to show the transformation, you're being a lot more authentic and real, and it makes for much better content in a book that is just 100 times better. So when you're looking at writing, whether it's writing email follow-ups, writing sales pages, sales letters, you're thinking about writing a book, courses, content, anything like that, I love the process of putting everything on paper out of my head quickly, but I found that I was missing all of the problems. So I talked about one problem. So problem number one. Maybe problem number two is you don't feel like you have enough of the money to invest in marketing to get your business to grow. You don't have enough time. You don't have the resources so you have to really get in the mind of the person on the other side and really start to flush out what their problems are. If you don't know what their problems are and or you haven't been with them, it's very, very hard for you to start to produce content when you're doing the podcast, which is obviously part of the Dream 100 framework, when you're writing your follow-up sequences. If you aren't able to relate to them on that level and you continue to stay at the how-to, the tactics, here's how to deploy XYZ. So as I started going through this, I decided to change things up exponentially. And for every chapter, I've looked at the problems of what I'm going to teach. What are the problems that you're currently facing? For example, I'll just say the podcast. So the tactic, the fortune map, as I like to call it, is launching a podcast so it grows your authority. It builds up the relationship with your Dream 100 prospect. It kind of moves things along pretty quickly. You're also producing good content that you can put out in social media. So there's a lot of great things that come with it. So if I look at that, okay, great. I could easily skip everything and say, step 1, step 2, pick a name, find guests, show notes, good video, good audio, all of that. But I need to take 6, 7, 8, 9 steps back and say, okay, great. What are some of the problems that you are facing around the podcast? Number 1, and I've faced this one every day, I don't like how I look on camera, for example, and I do everything as a video podcast. Trying to get in shape. I've been moving that needle, but that's one problem that I have. Not everyone has it, but that could be something that you currently are facing. Another problem could be time, that it takes a fair amount of time to be doing especially video podcasts. Number 3, maybe you don't have all the technology. You're not overly tech savvy. You know enough to be dangerous where you could do a Zoom, but the thought of streaming and using different video cameras and all that is 100 steps ahead of you. Maybe another problem is you don't have the team who's going to do all the editing and the show notes and all of that. So you start to line up, well, there's a lot of problems. And if I don't start to help you solve those, but also on the other side, I need to paint the picture for you. I need to start to show you, great, so one of your problems is you don't love how you look. Well, what if the possibility on the other side is you look great because you have amazing camera angles, you got a little makeup that maybe touches your eyes up, for example, so you can look great. You don't feel that you have the team. Great. The possibility is you only need a team of 1 person. It can be completely outsourced, and you can do this all in 1 hour a month, for example. So when you're looking at the content, what I'm trying to teach you today is instead of getting right into the tactics, that the money and the conversations that you're starting to have need to be more around the pain points. They need to be more around the problems, but then also looking at, great, what are the other areas that those problems are then cascading into? So if I go back and I go to the top level of the Dream 100 framework, and one of your problems being business is stalled, not growing the level that you want, not earning the money that you want. The other side, the possibility of making tons of money, business is growing at a 10x rate. So you've got the problem, the possibility. But if you look at that problem, I can call it out, I can show you the possibility, but I need to go even deeper and say, well, what is that actually causing you? Is it throwing your mood off, your anxiety? Are you getting depressed because you're in that state of mind? Your production at work is starting to decline. Your health, now you're eating junk food because you're always stressed. So you need to kind of get deeper and deeper. And what I've decided to do with this entire book project is I'm going to kind of build it and share it publicly and essentially try and do the book live to where I'm putting out content. So I'm doing the teaching, I'm talking about the problems, the possibilities, giving you the path to make this happen, so the tactics. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I am living it out. Because my biggest aha in going through the table of contents for the first time was that I'm not living all this stuff out. I'm doing a lot of it, but I need to show you authentically in as close to real time, here are the struggles, here's the pit that I'm getting in, that like I'm having a hard time getting out of X, so that as you start to go through those processes and you start to look at it, you're going to start to relate. But what I'm looking for you to do is to take all of this and essentially frame it so that as you are starting to write content, as you're putting out books, case studies, white papers, sales presentations, podcast interviews, I want you to pause for a minute and start to look at how much content you're putting out around the pain and the problems versus all the shiny objects. It's very easy to talk about all the shiny stuff. It's very easy to talk about the amazing benefits and the cash you're going to get and the Lamborghini and the private jets and the fancy dinners. It's very easy to talk about that. It's very uncomfortable to talk about the pain of you not growing your business to where it should be, to where you feel like a failure as a human. You feel like you're letting your spouse down. You're letting your kids down. You're having to start to turn things down like home renovation projects. You're laying in bed worrying every night. Your health is suffering mentally and physically. And I can tell you that I've been there, and in many days I am in that exact spot. That exact spot. And when I look at this framework, I've realized that that is the stuff that people are going to relate to a lot more. So I'm going to build this book with you in public. I'm going to start posting the different links as I'm writing it, as I'm shooting video content, and I'm going to do everything in video so that I am producing additional content that then can be used as courses, as social media fodder, bonuses to the book, all of that fun stuff. But I'm going to make sure that I'm talking about more of the problems to each of those so that you can start to break through and rather stay at that surface level. Now, the final piece to this equation is something called principles, which is really about mindset and thinking. So my other big aha was that I can continue to teach you all of these different frameworks and give you it all on a silver platter. But in order for you to move from over here to the other side, which is something that is completely unrecognizable from where you are today, your level of thinking, your mindset needs to start to change. So if I don't start to teach you and train you on this is how your mindset's going to have to level up, and until that happens, you're not going to be able to get from point A to point B to C to D. It's not going to happen. For example, we talked about problem being business not growing, stalled. Possibility on the other side being businesses on fire, growing at 10x. We talked about all the other issues of that business being stalled that are causing you physically, mentally. We talked about some of the different next steps you're going to do, A, B, C, D, the tactics, the production, the how-to. But how does your mind have to change? So, for example, maybe we say your mind has to change and you need to know that there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. But this is all about hitting singles daily, which is something that I've talked to you about quite a bit. Another thing you might need to realize from a mindset and thinking standpoint is this is a long-term strategy. The Dream 100 will not happen for you overnight. It's going to take 3, 6, 9, 12 months to start to see things compound. I need you to understand that marketing is the golden ticket to everything that you are looking for in your life. Every single thing comes down to marketing, period. Every challenge you have can be solved through better marketing, which correlates to more leads, more sales, more cash. Cash flow allows you to fix things, create opportunities, hire people, and get things done. It gives you that sense of security. It allows you to continue to build the future. But those principles are key. So my actions for you today are to look at, as you are doing content, as you are doing podcasts, as you are communicating, look at how you're communicating the problems. Are you even talking about them? Almost everything that I see 24/7 may have a little problem, but it usually is something like, do you want to grow your agency? Click here to learn more. It's not, do you feel like a failure in your agency? Click here. People are leading with the tactics, the how-to. So I want you to start to look at how you can change things up, how you can start to interwork the problems, how you can start to look at the mindset shifts that people have to make in order to work with you. And finally, I want you to consider building in public, building with your audience so that you're able to be raw and authentic and transparent exactly as I am here. It's not easy for me to say that some of my business entities are completely stalled out. They're nowhere near where they should be and where I feel like they should be. In a couple of days, a few days after this goes live, I turn 40. And I personally feel like I should be 10 times farther along than where I am today. So I have to be in those feelings. And if somebody is starting to give me sales copy and marketing copy and videos around that kind of stuff, that is going to have me move so much faster. People are going to move a heck of a lot faster away from pain so they can get to the other side. Start to deploy this stuff within your marketing. Start to kind of adopt this framework. I promise you it's going to help improve your copy, your response rates, engagement with your audience. And as always, I am so grateful for you to be listening. I cannot wait to show you the Dream 100 book. I'm going to set a hard deadline within the next week. I believe I'm going to keep it a tight deadline and show you that you can get a really high quality book, courses, video content done in 90 days or less, and just continue to build in public. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next week. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. See ya.